They never take me alive, I'm getting high with my profile. Cops only suffer from a die, even as a youngster. Causing ruckus on the back of the bus. I was a fool all through high school, kicking up dust. But now I'm labeled as a troublemaker. Who can you blame? Smoking weed up, we take away the pain. So I'm hopeless, rolling down the freeway, swerving. Don't worry, I'm about to crash upon the curb, cause my business bloody, baby. If they try to understand me, what should I do? I had to feed my fucking family. What else could I do but be a thug? I'm slanging with the homies, fuck hanging with them phonies in the club. Got my mind on danger, never been a stranger to homicide. My city's full of gangbangers and drive-by. Why do we die at an early age? He was so young, but still a victim of the 12 gauge. My memories of a corpse, mind full of sick thoughts, and I ain't going back to court. So fuck what you thought. I'm drinking Hennessy, running from my enemies. When I live a beat 23, there's so much pain.
Everybody, welcome in, welcome in. Happy Saturday. It is Saturday. Boy, I hope everybody had a good Saturday. I'm just glad I didn't have to get up and go to work. Hey, Carly, how are you? I don't know. Did you see that video that he was talking about, Harley? Excuse me. I got choked. Hey, Heather. Hey, Ellen girl. Amy, welcome in, welcome in. How's everybody? Hope everything's good. Harley, you want to come up? If you want to, I'll send you a link. Everyone, please like, follow, and share. I'd really appreciate it. I'm choking, y'all. Hang on. Okay, that's much better. It's like I had a tickle in my throat. I couldn't get rid of it. I've been trying to catch up on the stuff that's been going on today alone. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? The courts had thrown, after the Supreme Court had ruled, they thrown it back to Chumpton, and she was like pushing it out further. Well, today, just this afternoon, she ended up issuing highly unusual Saturday order sets August 16th hearing in Jack Smith, D.C. case against Trump. The Supreme Court case last month ruled 6-3 that Trump has absolute immunity for his core constitutional powers. Former presidents are entitled to at least a presumption of immunity for their official acts, according to the Supreme Court. The case was sent back to the D.C. Appellate Court after the Supreme Court issued a ruling on presidential immunity. But she sent out this order. God, that's small writing. She's just talking about how they regained adjudication over this case. So now she will be hearing it they have to respond by August 9th. So she denied he wanted to have it completely thrown out since the Supreme Court, and she denied it. And so now she has stated that August 16th, there will be a hearing. And it's kind of like it's hurried, pressured. And as Phil Holloway states, there is no way all pretrial issues, particularly hearings related to immunity, can be resolved prior to this election. As stated, those are complicated because the Supreme Court of the United States gave insufficient guidance on what standard of proof, which is true, they did. And Julie Kelly, one of the best investigative reporters I know, totally agrees with this, but she says, mark my word, If Trump wins, she and the DOJ will keep this case moving until January 20th, 2025. Now, why is January 20th, 2025 so important? I don't know how you pronounce it or how you would describe it, but my understanding is Trump could become president, it gets voted in, but there's still a time frame there before it wouldn't be valid. You know what I'm saying? Before they would find an issue or a problem and he wouldn't be the president. So here we go. Here we go, guys. So why is she pushing this so much? Why is she pushing this so hard? It went from going to be a good distance out to now August 16th. Interesting. She is corrupt. Imagine that. After the inauguration. That's right. That's right. So I thought we might like to know about that a little piece about that. But here's one other thing. This one I was trying to understand why in the world would why in the freaking world would he do this? Why would Kyle Rittenhouse kind of just say he's going to write in someone in on voting day? Why would he do that? Why would he say he would just write this dude in?
I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, Outreach Director for Texas Gun Rights. A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment, and that is my issue. If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you, and I will write somebody else in. We need champions for the Second Amendment, or our rights will be eaten away and eroded each day. I support my decision, and I have no takebacks.
Now he says he has no takebacks from that. And he says, okay, I'll send it. Give me 1 second, Harley. I got to find your email again. For some reason, I have to type it in. I got you. I'm just trying to think, why would he be willing to do this? Because, you know, Trump went to bat for him in many different ways. Let's see if we can find the information I had found out. Okay, well, let's go with this. Okay, he says that Trump has kind of pulled back and skedaddled when it comes to 2A, right? Here's Trump's record on the Second Amendment. Banned bump stocks, signed a fixed NICS to expand prohibited persons, faulty databases, supported red flag gun confiscations, supported raising minimum age to purchase firearms, told the British TV that he was going to seriously look at banning suppressors and ignored the legislation to deregulate suppressors. Supports TAPS Act, Big Brother social media monitoring of firearms statements. Supported expanding background checks registration with Tommy Manchin. Whipped about wanting to terminate parts of the Constitution and told Senator Feinstein to include an assault weapons ban in school safety bills. So that is the history of it. Remember, I told you that I thought that Ron Paul would be the best option for VP. Yes, yes, it did. I remember that. Yeah, you think it's a fucking setup? Well, some other people have this in mind that they're talking about. They say that this is a possibility of Kyle Rittenhouse knows that Ron Paul isn't even running for an election right now. He could have quietly voted for Ron Paul. It's only one vote. But why voice this to everyone on X other than to try and influence others? I like Ron Paul, but it makes you wonder what Kyle's agenda really is. Well, he could have been pushing for him. This is exactly true. He could have been pushing for Ron Paul to be running in the race. Or he could have been trying to get other people to think, hey, well, possibly Donald Trump's not the best choice. I'm saying this maybe, you know, with him voicing it. Or it could be what this idea of someone had. Kyle didn't do this to grift on Ron Paul. He wanted people like you and other Trump culties to wake the fuck up. And Kyle absolutely did wake you guys up. You culties are somewhat 2A. not pro-A. So get with the program. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows why he said it? Why are we supposed to care or be influenced by what Kyle Rittenhouse thinks? Well, it's just an opinion because Kyle Rittenhouse truly, he does have a fan base. A lot of people, if you would remember when he was on trial and when he was found not guilty and acquitted from his charges, if you remember, quite a few people were on board. And then he met with Trump and some say he actually worked for the Trump Foundation as well. I don't know that for sure. Have to find the info on that. But there are many people that it's like what he says carries weight. I'm not saying how much weight it carries, but what he says does carry weight at the end of the day. And that's what I'm saying. You need people coming out supporting Trump and saying positive things. This close to the race, you don't need people coming out and choosing, different directions. You used to like Kyle, now you don't. David Hancock is the reason Kyle spoke out against Trump. That's possibly true. 2A all the way, no bans on anything, period. And see, that's when we talk to Rodeo. Rodeo always has to comes up with this idea as well. If you ban it for certain things, then you got to ban it for all. And like we read the list of things that Trump is against. Why is he against it? Like bump stocks and everything? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, is it true that if you start chiseling away at just a little bit at a time at fucking with the 2A amendment, that eventually 10, 20, 30 years from now, there will not be a 2A amendment? Isn't that a possibility? Absolutely, that's a possibility. That is how our Constitution is being fucked over now, because little by little, they put little amendments here and little amendments there. And that is the end result that we have today, truthfully, of a lot of things. I'm getting you up. Hang on just a sec. I'm getting, I know you can answer that. I'm going to see if I can send it to you through email and let's see if this works. If not, then I will send it through text. And we'll see if it goes through. Okay, see if it came through. All right, see if it came through. If it didn't, come on up. So, that's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he at the end of the day, he has a right to his own thoughts and his opinion because as being a conservative and all of us saying, we believe that you should have a choice. Well, who are we to go against? That's the problem. When someone says something that we don't truly agree with, then we start, well, I don't like him or I don't want to. And you have that right to say, I don't like him no more. But just because someone makes a decision and it's what they feel they made for themselves, you got to catch yourselves before you start disliking people for a decision and a choice that they made. For the simple fact, that's how we're in this position now with the division. Before we could do Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, we could be doing all of these things. But now we're in such division, and I don't know. How do you get back? How do you get back to unity when there's so much hate? Because we were talking in the live earlier, we have so many people on the Democrat side. Okay, I saw a video where a guy actually wore a t-shirt for Trump into a rally for Biden. And he was treated like a piece of shit. Like a piece of shit. Ain't even threatened. But then he told him, look, I'm a Biden supporter. And he took the shirt off and they loved him and everything. Well, then he went into a Trump area with a Biden shirt on. Of course, he was questioned, but was he treated with hate? Was he treated with discord? Was he treated with any of that? No, he wasn't. Hang on a minute, Harley, I'll catch you. No, he wasn't. He was treated with respect, although they didn't like it, but he was treated with respect. Absolutely. Well, let's watch a couple of the videos where Trump had spoke tonight in Atlanta, or today in Atlanta. Welcome in, Regina. Good to see you. Good to see you. Here we go. always love watching Trump. That was when he entered today. The showman, hey Georgia boy, they sure beefed up the security. Oh yeah, Secret Service. Yes, they are. Oh, okay, everybody, welcome Harley. We'll get him in here and he can help explain maybe some things that I agree, disagree. Here we go. Hey Harley, welcome, welcome. How are
Hey,
you?
what's going on? I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good. I can hear you good tonight. I can hear you really good.
Well, I'm not on my computer. I'm on my cell phone. Maybe that's it.
It might be. It might be. So, why do you think Kyle Rittenhouse said he would write in? I mean, he has the right to do what he wants. And there he goes. And there he goes again. He probably hit the wrong button, like, go here. Or he has to turn something off. But he said he had a good answer to that question. Here he is again.
I hear it. Sorry about that. All right, so I guess
Hey,
it wasn't such a good connection. So my way in on what Carl Rittenhouse is saying is this is kind of what I've been saying all along. Uh, with Trump and anybody else that's in politics, is you have to watch everything that they say, right? And one of the things that got to me was I don't remember exactly what the particular subject was, but he made the comment on camera. He said that we should confiscate the gun first, then ask questions, then go to trial, then, if it's okay, give them their gun back. And, I got into this discussion with somebody the other day, and I apologize about the lighting, but I'm sitting outside. So just trying to enjoy some fresh air.
you're
Um, and, and I'm going to side with Rittenhouse on this a little bit.
okay.
You're either for it or you're not. And one of the things that I'm doing a dive into right now is it's after the first amendments were written to the Constitution, right? So you have the freedom of speech and press. You have the right to bear
Right.
arms, right? Okay, so my question to you is do you think that the forefathers wrote those down so that those could be amended? Because what I believe is that the first amendments that were written by the forefathers are, I'm not sure if I'm going to make up a word here, unpenetratable, right?
Right.
These aren't up for debate. So no matter how many years, decades, centuries tack on to us being a country, I don't ever think those were meant to be reinterpreted. And that might be another word I made up. So what I mean by that is you have a right to freedom of speech and press, period. It
Right.
doesn't say unless we deem what you say wrong, unless we think what you say is harmful, unless you speak about something we don't like, unless you speak about something we think is a threat to public safety. It didn't say that. If it did, it would have put that into perspective.
That's true.
So when you go to you have the right to bear arms. Okay. So what does it say after that?
Oh, you asking me?
Uh huh.
Um, I'm trying to get my water done. I don't know. Go ahead and say it.
It says you have the right to bear arms, period. It doesn't say unless it has a bump stock, unless it has a suppressor, unless it's an assault weapon, unless it's a blah, 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 blah. It doesn't say that. You have to think about back in the day let's go back to cowboys and Indians, because that's when most people can relate. Most people don't relate before that. So we'll just start there. Every good guy and every bad guy rode around with a pistol on their hip.
Yeah,
Just
there's like
because you were a
well,
bad guy didn't mean that you didn't have the right to bear arms. That's not what they said. So that's why the bad guys had a gun, right? Because it said you have the right to bear arms. It didn't say unless you're good or unless you're bad or whatever.
Right.
And
Both sides
so
got to do what they needed to do for themselves.
that's right. And so, because think of all the people, right? And all the things that happen and what people get charged with, and then come to find out it's not true. It was made up. It was speculation. It was a lie. I mean, we saw that all with Trump, right? So why would Trump say, well, we will remove their gun first, then see what the situation is, and then possibly give it back to them? That to me is what you're saying is kind of like what Kyle Rittenhouse was saying, is you're not pro 2A, you're 2A, right? Because what you're saying is, well, I'm going to make up things as we go based on my comfort level, on what I think you should have based on the power that I hold. And this is where it gets really sticky, because before the Constitution, you have God's law, right? What is God's law? It's the first 10. It's the 10 Commandments, right?
Commandments. Mhm.
Okay, so one of the ones that's most misinterpreted is "Thou shalt not kill." That is not what the original Bible. If you go back to the Geneva Bible, it says "Thou shalt not murder." Okay, so what is the difference? Well, if I'm at home and I'm asleep in my bed, and somebody breaks in my home and wants to unalive me and my family, and I unalive them first, well, why would God prosecute me for that? Right? I protected my family. I didn't do anything. I didn't make the decision to break into my home at 3 a.m. in the morning. So is God going to hold me accountable for "thou shalt not kill"? Well, if you listen to modern day religion, that's exactly what they say.
Right.
And they say, oh, turn the other cheek. Do you think that if somebody walks up and decks you right in the mouth, that God says, oh, just turn the other cheek and let them deck you in the other side of your mouth? The answer to that is no. When you go through the Bible, you have all types of violent situations that took place. And why is that? Because one man tried to assert his power over another man, which no man has a right to assert his power over another man, right? This is our land that was given to us by God to live here, to respect it, to respect each other. Thou shalt not covenant I don't know them verbatim. I'm not a super religious person, but I'm a spiritual person, and I know that
Right.
if I do a couple of things in life, if I don't cause anybody any harm, and I don't swindle anybody out of their things that they own or things that they have, and if I don't lie, steal, or cheat, then I think if you're not doing those 5 things, then you are living a pretty noble life, right? You're not stepping on anybody's toes. You're not telling them how to live. You don't tell them they have to follow this or follow that or do this or do that in order to be right. And that's what we've done, is we've entered into a society where everybody, okay, so groups of people have their belief system. Now, their belief system is controlled by a few things: politics and religion. Why do people always say, if you talk to older people, what do they say? No politics and no religion in my house. Why is that? Because that's what starts all the bullshit, right? That's what starts all the fights. That's what's, oh, if you don't believe what I believe, then, oh, you're blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if we all lived by those 5 principles, don't lie, steal, cheat, and murder, and swindle, and I guess steal your neighbor's wife, if you want to throw that in there, right? So if we live by those things, as a whole, as society, how much better off would we be right now than we are today? Because everything that I see has something to do with lying, cheating, stealing, murder, envy, gluttony, uh, bribery, uh,
Every single one of the seven deadly
co-
sins. Every single one.
coercing, right? So if we just lived by that and we were honest about it, and I'm not saying that we as society wouldn't slip up, but then you're held accountable. And I'm a firm believer in a society of an eye for an eye, right? So if you steal something, the first offense, we're going to take off one of your fingers. So everybody that sees you from this point moving forward in your life, when you're missing that finger, and you know, it really sucks if you lost your finger on the hay baler, right? And you're like, wait a minute, I lost my finger baling hay, you know. So it really would suck if that's how you lost your finger, and the rest of society sees you as a thief. But
They did it in
I
the
think,
Bible. They did it back then.
right, but I think as a whole, if and let me say this about the Bible. I'm gonna ruffle a lot of feathers, but that's just in my nature and that's who I
Oh,
am. So I
come
don't really
on,
care.
Harley. All right.
Why? Okay, so people say, well, if you, how can you not believe in the Bible? It's the oldest book in the world. Touche. It is. What is the most? I'm going to make up another word. Conflictual book in the world, the Bible,
The
right? And then let me tell you something. If it's so ironclad, then why has it been rewritten 85,000 times and there's been dozens upon dozens of religions spun off of it and everybody believes their way is right? I mean, you sit down and talk to a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon about religion. Well, let me tell you, if you don't do what they say, you're condemned to hell,
Yep.
right? So, and then it goes, well, Christianity is okay. Okay, so we're still doing the same thing. Let me ask you this: if God's word was so powerful, and He just wanted you to hear Him and wanted you to understand Him, would He send you a book of puzzles where you have to try to figure out what the hell it means, and then everybody goes, well, it means whatever you want it to mean? Okay, well, that's confusing as shit. And doesn't that start a lot of fights? Because now you and I are fighting over what my interpretation is versus your interpretation. Why isn't it laid out very simple? Okay, do I believe that it is? Now I'm going to flip it on its head. I do. I do believe that there is truth in the Bible. I do believe it's been convoluted so that man can use it to manipulate other men.
I agree with that. I agree with
And
that.
I do believe that under the Vatican, there is the real Bible that tells us the real meaning. And what that meaning is I forgot the word I was going to use. I was going to try to sound smart and then I lost the word. But basically,
I do it all the
basically it is love, right? Because if
Right.
you truly love people, you love life, you love what God gave you, you love the land, you love the air, you love the sky, you love the people, you love all those things, then how do you go wrong in that book? It's simple, you don't. So when a book tells me that if I have to do this or don't do this, then I'm condemned to hell, I'm not following that. And what I believe is that we've been stuck in this perpetual wheel. And I don't know how people feel about this. And again, I'm going to say something that'll probably, make a lot of Christians sink their teeth into me. Is I believe that we're reincarnated over and over and over until we understand what the real truth is. And the real truth is that you are God. God is in you. God is you. And oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. You think you're God? Yeah, I was created by my
Created, you're
Creator.
the creation of God, you believe.
That's right. I am God. If God created me, I am the breath of God. I am in fact I am in fact what God wanted to
Well,
create,
he
then am I
made you
not
in his
him?
image. He made you in
That is
his image.
correct. He made me in his image, not he made me in my image to mimic him. He made me in his image, right? There's a difference. And one of the things that this world gets really messed up on is linguistics. And the English language is the most controversial language and the hardest one in the whole world to learn because we give 10 different meanings to one word and spell it four ways. We're the most, why? Because it's a spelling, it's to bring people under a spell, right? So when I talk about this, I get a lot of heat from it, and that's okay. I don't really care because I'm going to say
I
whatever
mean,
I
I
want.
agree. I agree with some things that you said, but there's some that I totally disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay if I disagree with what you say. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the problem with society today is because we can't do what just you and I just did. You people can't say, hey, you know what? I get some of what you're saying, but there's a few things I'm not cool with. Okay, let's move on because
Keep going.
you know, and I know that if you say, "Oh, wait a minute, let me tell you what I think," you know that I'm going to go, "Okay, but here's what I think," and then we become this combative state, which is what's wrong now, is because people just can't accept other people's views, and I totally respect that you don't accept everything I say because you're not me. You don't have my brain. You weren't born where I was born. You weren't raised how I was raised. You don't see things the way I see them. So I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, I'm not your judgment.
Right.
God, your creator, is your judgment. And if I'm wrong, then my judgment will be brought to me. But
Right.
what I do believe is that I still love you. I still care about you. I still want you to be successful as a person. I still want you to
Right.
live in prosperity. I still want you to be a happy person. I still want your family to treat you right. I still want you to get the things you want in life. And unfortunately, we live in a time right now where what we're seeing is pure hatred.
It's evil.
And the stuff that I see written and I mean, man, the stuff people just put in comments is just, oh my goodness. I
It's
don't even.
diabolical. It's scary. It really is scary that people, you never even met can actually go on and hate you. You know what I'm saying? They've never
Well,
even
the
met
thing is,
you.
country, you and I come from an era when if you had something to say about somebody, you might have said it behind their back. You might have. But within 2 or 3 days, that person was in your face going, hey, what'd you say about me? And you had to have the Weibos to say, you
I
either
did.
chickened out or you brought it to the line and you drew the line in the sand. And today we have this society that gets to attack people anonymously, and then all this doxing and calling police to people's house, all this crazy stuff, right? There's no ramifications because we also live in a society that there's no accountability. Hence is why we are seeing, I don't know if y'all remember Jonathan Lewis, the kid that got beat down in Las Vegas at school. He tried to go in and rescue his little friend that was getting beat up, and 15 people beat this kid into the ground and stomped him.
Didn't they just get
Now,
off recently?
well, I'm going to tell you, so 6 of them never even got charged. So they had video of 6 of them and just let them off the hook. 5 of them have been prosecuted as juveniles. 4 of them have been sentenced to manslaughter, and the 5th one is waiting his sentencing to manslaughter.
Okay.
They had 4 left. They were 16 and 17 years old, and they were going to try them as adults and charge them with second-degree murder because they literally stomped his head into the ground. And then yesterday, the day before, whatever it was, his attorney and the district attorney came to a mutual agreement because they didn't want to see a second tragedy happen, which would be sentencing these four young men, not boys. When you're 16 or 17, smashing somebody's head in the ground, you're a man. And they didn't want a second tragedy to hit, so they agreed to try them as minors and charge them with manslaughter. I saw Jonathan Lewis's mother talk about that today, and it just really broke my heart because I thought about, I have a son that's 17, and I thought if some people bashed my son's head into the ground,
Mhm.
and then they came to me and they said, we're going to, put these that just did a couple of hits and ran off, we're going to charge them with manslaughter or nothing. Some of these that kind of hit him a few times, we're going to charge them with manslaughter. And these that were the main culprits, we're going to charge them with second degree murder. I still think I could not swallow that pill. But as the justice system rolls, I would have to accept that as a societal outcome of what happened. If they came back to me and said the defense and the district attorney made a decision on your behalf, and they decided that they didn't want a second tragedy to happen, which is put these men behind bars for the next 25 years. So we're going to try them as kids and give them manslaughter and they won't serve a day. I think I would just look at them and say, okay. And then I would walk away. And then I would not be okay. And I would not accept it. And I would take care of that. And I think it's insane that as a society, we sit back and we see something like that and we think, man, that's so totally screwed up. And then as a society, we go, well, it's not my kid, but that sucks for them. And we just move on.
Are they going to trial, or did they plead guilty, Mary, to manslaughter? Mary Rain wants to.
I mean, they're pleading guilty to it, but they got offered a sweetheart deal. At first, they were facing second degree murder.
Right.
And then the DA, the defense attorney, like we're seeing all over the world right now, where illegals are beating up cops and getting out and raping women and getting out and unaliving young girls and getting out. We're seeing this form of lawlessness. And yeah. And the reason we're seeing it and the reason it's progressing is because as a society, we are not coming to the doorstep with the lanterns and the pitchforks and saying, that ain't going to happen.
I agree.
Back in the day, let's just go to Cowboys and Indian days. If you had a person come in a camp in a town and unalive a young girl and they decided to let them go, I guarantee you the entire freaking town would have been on that sheriff's doorstep with the lanterns and the pitchforks and said, go ahead and try it. Because it will not happen. So we as society have been so convoluted in our distractions that we hear it, we get pissed about it, we voice our opinion on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, we'll get a lot of likes and shares, but the person that's suffering through it goes at it alone and they're left hung out to dry. And as a society, we go on about our day and move on to other meaningless shit instead of coming together and supporting each other, because the only person we have is ourselves or each other. That's it. And we're not doing that. So that is why we're getting defeated, because as much as we say that we're going to stand together, as much as we say that we're going to fight side by side, we don't. When our border was getting invaded and we went down there to try to stop it and kept telling people, come on down, everybody's got to come on down. Did everybody come on down?
No.
No. So when there's 20 million people here that we don't know of, 7.1 million people we just found out today by the OIG report that have been let in this country without being vetted, without doing their in-person interview, without doing their background check, without doing their fingerprints, without doing their facial recognition. They were given a visa and let into this country.
Yeah.
And instead of having 100,000 men in this country walk down to that border and say, abso-fucking-lutely not, you better turn around. And what we have in our head is we have in our heads that we can't do things like that because, well, they might arrest us. Are they going to arrest 200,000, 500,000, 2.2 million people showing up to the border? No.
No, that would be big numbers.
Right.
You let
They
100
can't.
people show up, 200 show up, 300, even 1,000. Yeah, they would arrest them. But you get up in the high numbers, no, they're not going to mess with you.
And let me tell you why. Because in every change in the world, going all the way back to the Romans, the Mayans, all that, less than 3% of the population are the ones that make the changes.
That's why we always say 3%.
Okay, so if you look at the American population right now for 360 million people, right, and however many millions of those are adults, however many millions of those are men, let's just say 100,000 for easy math, right? I mean, 100 million for easy math. So if 3 million men showed up side by side, then whatever agenda they're trying to change would more than likely change, because the people in power realize at that point, this is no game.
Right.
This is game on.
It's game on. And that's why they do what they do to us, because, okay, people, you probably got it in your comments. Well, we got to do something. We're going to do it now. And then why ain't you doing something then? Because it takes numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had people tell me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, you talk a good game, but you don't go do this or you don't go do this." Well,
okay, well,
in
Heather
the
made a good point, but we
in
did
the pa-
show up for J6, and they
in the past, well, and let me tell you about J6
So now
is
what?
if you go to the capital of this country and you're in the numbers of 30,000, that's called stupidity. If you show up to your state capital with 1 million, that's called change.
Very true.
Because the thing is, it all comes down to the state, right? The federal government has limited power, but we are giving them more and more power each day, right?
Oh,
Because at the end of the day, let me just give you an example. Let's just say we'll pick Texas because that's a big state, right? I think it's the third biggest state. So if Texas has 26 million people in it, and 3 million people descended to, say, Austin, and said, we're no longer going to put up with this list of demands, or we're no longer going to put up with this stuff. Here's our list of demands. Don't you think the people that are in the Senate and the House in Texas would not go, holy shit, if they looked out their window and saw 3 million people, that as far as they could see, there's people? Do you think that their whole attitude would change about they run us?
absolutely.
Right. The problem is everybody is so comfortable in their life because I can turn this off. I can lock my front gate. I can go in my house and sit down, and I'm okay right now. And that's how a lot of people look at it. I can lock my door. I can go sit on the couch, watch some TV, and I'll be fine. And that's true. At this moment, you are fine. But we are approaching a moment very soon where that is going to change. And I'll tell you, this is why. Let me tell you why this is a game. And it's been a game. And again, I'm going to ruffle more feathers because If change was really important and the law was really important and the Constitution is something that we live by, then why in the world can every 4 years a president get elected and come in and veto everything the one did before and make their own agenda? And then 4 years later, we're talking about the vets, insurance, the cost of living, blah, 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 blah. The same bullshit that we talked about the last time. And we need to fix it because this person screwed it up. If what we were doing was truly for the good of the people, then what one person did as a president that proved to be good should not be able to be undone. But that's not the
Same
case.
thing, but they're always so. What's the point? I even asked this question the other day, just talking in conversation with some people. If we have a president, okay, that gets everything going right, then we have another election, and a president comes in and undoes what the previous president did, like we see now. How do we get change if that is what continuously happens? You can't. There's no way to have change. What, we want to have good 4 years, and then we got to turn around and have everything else undone? But that's where you get a thin red line there, because there are some orders that a bad president does and puts in. And if the new president going in can't change those, then we're stuck with that. What do we do? Think better?
Okay, that's that. Okay, so what I'm saying is, so let me ask you this. In the age of technology, okay, so we don't have anybody riding a horse to deliver the mail anymore, right? We've we've come very far in that deal. And if they can encrypt an app so good that the 3-letter agencies can't get in it by a 20-year-old nobody that tried to assassinate a president,
Right.
then you mean to tell me that we can't have daily or weekly votes on what the American people want via cell phone? Can it be hacked? Yes. Does that mean it can't be hacked? I can assure you the technology is there.
Right.
Everything that you see technology wise right now, whatever product you see coming out at this moment, and you're like, ooh, I got to get me one of those. It came out 15 years ago, and they've been they've been messing with it at MIT. They've been messing with it at MIT for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I think they're like 20, 30 years ahead on stuff by the time we
They're
get
they're always 20 or 30 years ahead. Okay. So right now I'm telling you there is a way, without a shadow of a doubt, for them. So what I think is, if this was truly a republic, which this is another thing that kills me that Donald Trump says all the time, that we're a democracy. We are not a effing democracy. We are a republic, but we're not, because we were sold out 3 years after the Constitution was written. But my point being is he's not pointing that out, right? Now, I guarantee you, if we did, this should be a law. Once a month, everybody in the country is off work. That means no grocery stores open, no gas station is open. No, the only thing that would stay open would be a hospital, because if somebody's having a heart attack, obviously, and law enforcement, right, for the nitwits. But once a month, you get a text via the propositions or the whatever that's being proposed, and then you vote yay or nay. Once a month. So you sit down for a day and you get a text, and it may be 10 things on the ballot. It may be 50 things on the ballot. I don't know. But they're all on the ballot, and you go down one by one, and then it has a description of what it is, what it means in English, not in lawyer terms, but in English. where anybody can understand it, and then you're able to say yes or no. That's it. Tell me why we're at this point in technology and this point in the world, and we don't have that yet. And we have to elect people that for either 2 or 4 years go out. And if we screwed up and elected the wrong people, they go out and do a horrible job and totally screw us over. And we just have to sit here and take it for 2 or 4 years. We should be able to get somebody out of office as a whole, as society,
quick.
right now, tomorrow, the next day, whatever it is, right?
We should be, but if we do against it, then we would be going against our Constitution.
Okay, so ask yourself this: why are we not there yet? And then why every 4 years we go to elect a president and he can come in and sign 110 EOs on the first day and rewind everything that was making things go well? Because it's a game. It is a psychological warfare game to make you feel like you have an option. Because I want to ask you this too. How many options do we have? You have to vote either Republican, Democrat, or Independent, right? Independent is only designed to take away votes from one or the other, because it's never in the history of its existence even come remotely close to winning. So it's only designed to draw votes away from one side or the other. The independent person, let's take RFK, for example. So I'm going to probably piss more people off. If you take RFK, you hear him talk about the healthcare industry, the vaccines, and so you're like, yeah, as a conservative. And then you hear him on the other side of his tongue go, Green New Deal, and the liberal and the left is going, yay. So what is he doing? He's drawing votes away from one party or the other to make the margin of win smaller and more narrow.
Right.
That's all he's there for.
I call them buffers. That's what I
Exactly. That's all he's there for. He's not there to win, because he never will. They've never even, I mean, what's the most they ever get? 3, 4, 5%?
Right. But that's 3
Right?
or 4 or 5% that could push usually a margin of when someone wins or loses.
But that's my point. And then also my point is, why in the hell are we boxed into 2 people? I mean, if you think about all the brilliant minds that are in this country, all of the, 170, 160, 70, 80 IQs in this country that truly understand how to look at a problem, dissect it, figure out a solution that makes rational sense, not your emotional sense, rational sense, and be able to say, okay, here's the problem, and I calculated all the equations, and this is the top equation with a 72 percentile success rate, which would mean that 72% of the time it'll be fixed, which would be phenomenal on any subject, and then have a solution for that. Instead, we say, oh, well, first of all, you're not popular enough to vote for. Second of all, you don't have enough money to vote for. Third of all, we don't know who the hell you are, so we're not voting for you. And fourth of all, you don't stir up the pot, so we definitely ain't putting you in it. Why are we not looking for the brightest, smartest, most intelligent people to solve the freaking problems that we continue election cycle after decade after century talking about the same shit?
Why not?
We literally are talking about, yes, we're literally talking about veterans, cost of living, blah, blah, natural resources, gasoline prices, blah, blah. We were talking about this shit when I was 16 and started hearing it.
Because they fuck it up and keep fucking it up, and then they go make money off of other countries. Like they stop the drilling, energy independent we could be. They stop everything that we're doing here in America when one president gets in, and then when the other one gets in, that is the way they keep their balance, their checks and balances, not in a good way, but in a
but are they keeping checks and balances, or are they just keeping us under their thumb while they control it all?
That's what I mean. That's
right. Because the only thing that I can tell you is that since 1929 and the Great Depression, is we're about to be on the cusp of another one. So we haven't prospered, we haven't gained We haven't, I saw this really funny TikTok today, and it was Gen Z and millennials working on their house. And it was the funniest, but also most depressing thing I've ever seen. It was these guys that were Gen Z and millennials, and one guy's on a ladder and he's acting like he's wiping a window, and another guy's standing on the ground, he's acting like he's cutting down a tree, and another guy acts like he's sweeping the sidewalk, and another guy acts like he's mowing a fake lawn. And what they're saying is, we'll never be able to afford a house. I mean, we're literally sitting right here, right now, with every property in this country overvalued again after 2008, the real estate bust. And we are literally sitting here doing this again. And everybody's missing that because we're so wrapped up in everything else that we're not. And what happened in 2008 when we bust and we allowed these companies to give mortgages to people that couldn't afford them, we allowed the banks and the private equity firms to soak up millions of homes in the market so they could rent them back to us for overrated prices to keep us broke, so that we're struggling just to get by. Because when you go to go get a 1-bedroom apartment that's 679 square feet, and you got to pay $1,300 to live there, and it's got a leaky faucet and a hole in the wall and a rat problem, are you shitting me? So we're doing good?
No, we're not.
And the only reason we're there is because we let them do it, and here we are, 16 years later, right? Is my math okay? 16 years later.
Close enough. Close enough.
And we're repeating the exact same mistake verbatim.
Then how do we change that? How do you change that? I've thought about this myself. We go on a
Because
roller
let me-
coaster ride
okay,
continuously every 4
Yep.
years. I'll be
Yep.
right back. I got to run to the bathroom.
Okay.
You go ahead, talk.
Well, one of the things I'm going to say to change that is what I think the American people, and this is not just America, this is the entire world. Everybody's sitting on the same stage. They're sitting. Some countries are much worse. Some are experiencing the exact same thing, and I think we are the last one to fall, right? Because if you look at the UK, you look at Europe, you look at all these different countries, they're falling at Venezuela, Honduras. I mean, just all of them. They're falling at this astronomical rate. So how do we stop it? This is the craziest thing to me that this question gets asked, because I think that truly this is the simplest answer for everything. And that is, every single wealthy person, whether it's a banker, Elon Musk, JP Morgan, it absolutely does not matter. Every single one of them needs worker bees, right? So they need people to get up and come produce what I call slave labor, because what they've done is when they made the 14th Amendment, they never got rid of slavery. What they said was they abolished slavery for African Americans. What they didn't tell you when they put the 14th Amendment in place was, we're going to replace slavery with Black Americans with the entire human race. And so what we've had drilled into our head is, go to school, learn how to shut up and take orders, and then go out there in the real world and get a good job and try to pay your bills. That's what it's come down to. It used to be, go to school, get a good education, excel at some job, make a great amount of money, buy a house for $100,000, sell it for $900,000, live the American dream, become rich, and retire at 60 years old and have all the money you need to be a retiree, and life is cake. Well, the problem is that never happened, and it all started with the Industrial Revolution, because what they convinced us to do was to give up our farmland. See, before the Industrial Revolution, everybody lived on a farm. Dad taught the son how to shoe the horses, how to till the land, how to fix everything on the property. Mom taught the daughters how to sew, how to cook, how to take care of the house, all that stuff, right? So everybody had a job, and everybody's job actually pulled together and made that little town, their little farm, run like a well-oiled machine. And the only deal was, hey, this is my shit. Don't come on it. Don't come over here messing with my stuff, and we'll be cool. And somehow they convinced us, oh my gosh, are you serious? You got to work sun up to sun down?
Like it was a bad
Everybody
thing.
did. Right. Everybody did. Mom and the daughters that were cooking and cleaning and sewing and making clothes and doing all, they worked sun up to sundown. And Paul and son that were out in the field and fixing stuff, they worked sun up to sundown. And yes, it was a hard life. But at the end of the day, what you had was you had each other that you knew without a shadow of a doubt you could count on. You knew that nobody messed with your family. Nobody, right? Because that was the spokes in your wheel that made the wheel go round. So nobody jacked with that. And somehow we took the bait of, oh man, y'all are working so hard. I tell you what, we're going to build this place where yards are going to be attached to each other. And you're going to have running water. You don't have to go out and hand pump a well. And then we're going to provide you these appliances where you can turn a knob and it heats the stove. So you don't have to go out and chop wood, and you don't have to go out and fetch the wood. And then we're going to give you a place that you can go shopping so that, guess what? You don't have to have a garden anymore. You don't have to till the land up. You don't have to work your ass off. You don't have to deal with squash bugs. Right?
Right.
I said that to get a reaction, but you don't have to deal with squash bugs. You don't have to deal with all this shit. And I tell you what, Daddy is going to be able to leave at 8:30 in the morning because he lives right down the street from where he works. And then he's going to be home by supper. And Mama's going to have supper because she just ran to the store and there it is. And then y'all get to have quality time in front of the TV and the radio. You see? And then that's where the programming started, right? And then guess what? Daddy don't have to work on Saturday and Sunday. How about that? He don't have to do anything for 2 days. Well, we all know that if you work out 7 days a week, and then if you drop down to 5, you know what happens? You drop down to 4, and then probably 3, and then you quit because there's nothing pushing you to make you do it because it's a necessity. You see? So then after that, all of a sudden, next thing we know, 80 years later, the TV's raising your kids. The music is embedding shit in their mind. Dad can barely hold a job, or if he does, he holds 3 to support everything. The cost of living is through the roof because why? They control all the damn goods. They control everything you need. You need electricity? Yep, we control that. You pay what we tell you to. You need groceries? Yep, you pay what we tell you to because now we provide it to you. Hell, some states won't even let you put a garden in your backyard. You need water? You need water? Do you need these? Oh my gosh. Water is the most important essential in life. Why? Because if you don't have water, you last 72 hours. You can go 30 days without food. You can't go more than 72 hours without water. And who controls the water? And then on top of that, they poison it. Are you shitting me? Like, how are we still sitting here going, what am I going to do? There's nothing I can do. Like, I'm blown away, man.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Rain barrels. Good night, Heather. Have a good night, sweetie. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
I'm just, when I hear people say, what can we do? What can I do? What am I supposed to do? I'm like, are you like, I don't know, when you're in the fight for your life, you fight for your life.
Well, yeah, and I'll sit there and tell people, we're at a point of almost no return, and if
No,
we
we're
don't,
already we're all listen. I'm going to disagree with you. We are past it. The question is,
how do we?
are we going to come back from it? That's the real question. Are we going to come back from it? We're already past it. They've already got control of everything.
True.
Because let me tell you, let me prove what I'm saying. Tomorrow you wake up and there's a 100% blackout on electricity, and they don't turn it back on. You tell me how you're going to survive for the next 6 months, starting tomorrow when they flip the switch and they don't turn it back on. How do you survive for the next 6 months? And I will tell you that 99.9% of the
Hell.
people, 99.9% of the people do not have an answer for that. Yet you wake up every single day and you depend on electricity to wash your clothes, keep you cool, keep you warm, give you gas at a pump, because why? Electricity goes to the pump to provide gas from the pump. If you think about the true meaning of losing electricity overnight and them not turning it back on, then it affects every single aspect of your life, including if they make medicine. What do they make it in? A lab, a manufacturing warehouse. If they don't have electricity, can they make it? No. If you need gas, do they have to refine it? Yes. What does that take? Electricity. If they don't have it, can they make it? No. I mean, if you just go down the list, I'm not going to sit here and do that because that'd be repetitive. Every aspect of your life is controlled by electricity.
No, I agree with you. I mean,
So if you don't have a generator, you don't have solar panels, you don't have a water wheel, and you don't understand the schematics of an electricity system, and you don't understand how it works, then you are effed.
a lot of people are, and then let's say we're 2 weeks in. Most people have like a week or maybe a week and a half. Some people do. They don't have the luxury of having money to get food. Like me, I'd be living off rice. I'd be living off rice is what I would be living off of. But there are people who they have more than that they can do. But you have okay. Think about it. Your electricity goes out. Your deep freeze is gone. Your fridge is gone. And your freezer there is gone. So what do you have in your home right now that is non-perishable that or that is your perishable item and you can survive with? Do you have enough in there? Because it goes down, say it's 6 months. There are going to be those people that are literally going to break in your home, do whatever they can because they're not prepared.
Well, let me take it a step further. So first of all, let's talk about the vulnerable, right? So let's talk about the elderly and let's talk about the children, right? Those are two people that if they don't eat within 72 hours, they don't make it.
Exactly.
Maybe a week, maybe a week. Okay, so let me tell you my perspective. I don't know if I'm right. I'm speculating based on.
Hey Harley, you can smoke on this.
Well, I'd rather not. But
okay.
So here's my point though. I would say that if you think about, so let's take day one. So let's just say power goes out tomorrow. All of a sudden, out of the blue, noon, power goes out. Well, everybody's going to be sitting around like, oh shit, what happened? That's weird, right? And then after about an hour, you're going to have the cell phone network completely clogged if they choose to leave that open, which I don't think they would, right? So now you have no cell phone communication. So you don't have any landline communication, you don't have any email, and you don't have any cell phone. What do you think would happen to the population if in about 4 to 6 hours they realize there's no way to communicate?
Oh my God, complete havoc. That would be what would get them up off the couch, off their asses, and make a big stink because they didn't have internet. Then you would see
Okay,
more
so
people
so
going
so
out for
let's
that than you would anything.
let's ride with what you're saying. So all of a sudden, in 4 to 6 hours, people are like, "Holy shit! Okay, shit just got real." Okay, so you have I know I used to live in the city, and I know people that in the city they go to the grocery store every 2 days.
Oh yeah.
They don't got hardly carpet. I know people that eat out every meal. I know people right. So you're going to have 20 to 30% of the population right out of the gate that is unprepared for 72 hours. Think about that.
Very sobering to, yeah. That's
30% of the population will be unprepared for 72 hours of no food and no water. Because remember, when you go to that spigot and you lift that handle up to get some water out, it doesn't
yes,
work because the electricity at the pump at the water house is not working.
pandemonium.
Okay, so what you'll see is a mass unaliving of just unessential necessity. So what does that mean? What does that bring in? See, this is why people don't, when they don't think about it completely, this is why things get really hairy when you really think about it in a true sense. Because let's say in 72 to 96 hours, 30% of the population goes away.
No food, no water. Then they depopulate. I've thought about that too. That was their easiest way of depopulating the earth.
Okay. Okay. But what I'm asking is what happens because of that? What's the next phase of obstacles that you will overcome at that moment?
They start cannibalism.
No.
Yeah, they'll start eating everybody.
Well, I mean,
They won't have food.
I guess yes, some will, but what's the next phase that comes after that is disease,
Island girl.
right? If you have so 30% of 300 million is what?
They're sick. They're on
90
medications.
That's 90 million people that pass away in 96 hours. You have 90 million bodies laying around this country decomposing, right? So we're getting technical here.
Okay.
And then that brings on disease. So now not only are you battling not having food, not having water, but now you're battling airborne diseases from people that have unalived and are laying all over the place.
Oh wow.
So then what happens? Another 30% of that population picks up those diseases and starts spreading them as they interact with the other part of the populations,
Right.
right? So then you have major diseases that are moving around and knocking off massive more amounts of the population. So when you put that into perspective, if you're not in rural America and away from everything, then most cities will unalive in that sense within 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. So then you have what's left after, let's say, a month, whatever that number is. Well, that number has probably run through a good portion of what they have and are starting to run low on supplies.
So
Then
they're
what
gonna
do
have
they
to
do?
venture- They're going to venture out.
That's correct. They're going to go find what they need to survive, and then human instinct kicks in, and then you go try to stay alive. There's an author called A. American,
Mhm.
and he wrote some books. And the first one was getting. I'm going to paraphrase here, like getting home, right? And what happened was he worked in the oil fields, I think, and he had to. He's driving home. He's 250 miles from home, and EMP hits and knocks out all electricity. So he had been preparing for this. So he had his little go bag in his truck, and he began to move on foot. And then the next one, when he gets home, The next book is Surviving Home. And what was interesting about this is he had prepared and he had stocked all this stuff and all this, and he had been getting ready, and he had been telling his neighbors, hey man, you better get ready for this stuff. And they all were like, whatever, dude, you're crazy. You're overreacting. So he gets home, and then everything's okay for a few weeks. And then people start running out of food.
Right.
They start running out of medical supplies. They start running out of water. And then they go, well, wait a minute. So-and-so down the road, he was preparing. So then they start to turn on him in his neighborhood after they set up this watch and they were protecting each other. And then it gets so bad that his next book is called Leaving Home. They have to find a new place to set up because he's in danger where he's at because people know what he has. So he has to leave there and find another place. And then it goes on. It's about a 7 or 8 book series. And what is really interesting about it is during every single book that he does, he talks about the things that he needs, and he specifically gives you products that are real. And if you go to Google or Amazon or whatever, you can look up all of these products that he talks about using. I used a ABC flint rock to start fires. I used the ABC, this to clean my water. So he's literally telling you in these books what you need to survive.
Okay.
And the thing that I find most interesting is that as human beings, we have faced extinction many times, and yet somehow we think history only repeats itself for the generation before us, but it's not going to happen to us. We bank on the fact that we're counting on one man to come in and save the day and fix our worldly problems. Worldly. This is not a United States issue. If you look at the UK right now, it is falling apart. France is falling apart. All these countries are falling apart real time, right in front of our face. We are literally watching it. And somehow we think that we are going to be isolated from all of that. And somehow we think that in November, we're going to vote. And somehow we think that one man's going to come into office and just elate all of the problems. Do you know that that's mathematically impossible? It's simply mathematically impossible for that to happen. So we are facing a situation that truly is the downfall of humanity, and it will be massive, and it will be, I don't know what the word is. It will consume a majority of the human race, and then what is left will have to try to come together and realize once again, like they did with the Romans and the Mayans and the blah 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 blah, and the gazillions of times that we have done this. We will then have to try to rebuild and then figure out what we did wrong and try to correct our wrongdoings and try to do this again. And the reason that history repeats itself is because we don't look at this like we're in it together. We look at it like, oh, that's their problem. That's their problem. That's their problem. That's their problem. It's not my problem at the moment, but we're too naive to believe that it becomes our problem tomorrow when the power goes out.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
So,
In our military, they go to other countries to fight. So it is
how much of our military is stateside?
What, here? We
Mhm.
have like a million.
How many? So first of all, let me bring up the fact that our military is smaller than it's been in the last 150 years. I know an Army recruiter right now that told me in the last 4 months, he's had one recruit each month for the last 4 months.
I knew it was down.
It's not down, it's dismal. He's
Why-
had one recruit for the last 4 months. He's had one recruit. He's been doing it for 10 years. And he used to put 250 to 400 guys through per month.
Why do you think that is? I have my ideas, but what do you think coming from the military?
Because nobody's going to go fight the rich man's war under a false pretense and lose their life for something that doesn't really mean that you're standing up for your people back home. It means you're going to take away from somebody else to give somebody else what belongs in that country.
Well said.
So this whole notion that the military's in works behind the scenes and they're going to save the day. What
I don't
military?
believe it. I don't believe it. How can you say that when we don't even have one?
When
have
70%,
Numbers.
I think, I may be wrong, but I think 70% of the military is deployed across the world. So 30% are at home, and that includes the reservists.
Right?
And do you think, just like any police officer, any sheriff, any three-letter agency, if what I'm talking about hit the fan, let's say lights went out tomorrow,
Okay.
do you think they're going to show up to their job to protect you, or do you think they're going to go home to their family and protect their family?
They're going to go home and protect their family. They don't give two shits about you. They're going to go home
That's
and
right.
protect themselves.
Well, it's not that they don't care about you for the ones that are truly in it
No.
for the right reason. It's just that
Right.
they understand survival instinct and human survival instinct, and that they're going to protect their own.
That's human nature to take care of your own. It's
Of course.
most of the time it is, and so people. It's human nature to make sure.
So we've been built on this society of depending on other people to protect us. You know, why do they say, do you know why they say it's a thin blue line? Do you know what that means? So thin blue line means that there's a certain amount of people in this world that commit crimes. And there are the officers and the agencies that are in between the crime and the victim. And I believe that most of them work their butts off, most of them, even if they're not honest, even if they're crooked, still part of the time they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this very scary part of society, right? And I'm gonna bring this into perspective.
Okay.
I had no idea how bad the child SA was until the last 5 years. I did not truly comprehend how bad it was because I did not experience it, nor did I have anybody that I know express to me that they experienced it. The scary thing is until I started asking. And then people that had never told me that said, well, yes, I was SA when I was 6. I was SA when I was 12. And then all these people, as I'm asking them, started telling me, and my jaw hit the floor because I'm like, what? You were? I had no clue it was as massive as it was. So the reason I bring that up is because what that means is there's a certain amount of society that will commit a crime and risk it until they get caught. Then there's a part of society that sometimes risks it until they get caught. Then there's a big chunk of society that wants to break the law, that just values their freedom just a little bit more than they do sitting in a prison cell. So they don't act on their disgusting instincts because they're afraid of an 8x8 cell. Can you imagine if that thin blue line disappears, at what kind of chaos will ensue?
I've thought about that. I didn't know it was referred to like a blue line, but I have thought of that.
The thin blue line, people misinterpret to it's the protection of one brother to another brother and the police and all that stuff. That's not what it means. It means that there's literally a thin blue line. There is the number may be wrong, but I think it's like 1.9 million police and whatever agencies that protect society. There's 336 million people. They are clearly outnumbered. You have a portion of society that just doesn't want to do wrong. They're not interested in doing wrong. They don't want to be a bad guy. But you have a very massive chunk of society that wants to be a bad individual, but they don't want to go to prison, so they hold back on that. And the reason why that number has grown massively over the years is because of television, because of TV programming, because it programs you to go out and be a gangster, go out and be a assassin, go out and be a whatever. And it's cool because it's an action movie.
And the video game.
And video games, and people get this wild, crazy hair that they can. Like, how do you play? I mean, I play Call of Duty. I don't think that I can run out and become Call of Duty guy and start wiping people out. Like, that doesn't cross my mind.
But you're one of the sane ones. You're one of the sane ones who's grounded.
But there's people that don't understand the difference between reality and false reality perception. So that's why I say the mathematical possibility of one man getting voted in and solving world problems is not mathematically possible. It has to take a societal change and way of thinking and acceptability of what happens to make the change. We have to come together as a whole, as a group of people that will not accept certain things and will only allow certain things if you stay within this line. You have to stay in this line. You cannot harm your neighbor. You cannot steal from your neighbor. You cannot take their wife. You cannot do it. You just can't. That's the line. If you step over it, the consequences are harsh. It's an eye for an eye. And then people say, oh, an eye for an eye, like that Jonathan Lewis, like the attorney saying, well, we couldn't have a second tragedy and have these 4 teens go to prison for second-degree murder as a man when they're 16 and 17. But did they not stomp this guy's head into the ground at the age of 16 and 17? And they didn't have a problem while they were doing it. They were laughing. They were doing it. They were smiling. They were sticking their chest out. So they were man enough then. But when it becomes time for punishment and trial, it's not a man anymore. It's a poor little scared boy who made a bad decision. Are you kidding me?
It's bullshit.
And so as society, we allow other people to tell us how to think about that. And then the sad thing is a portion of society rides with what they're told and says, yeah, you know what? You're right. That's sad. Maybe they'll grow up to be a good guy. Okay, well, let's look at historical numbers. Do historical numbers support that somebody that bashes a guy's head in at 16 and smashes his head into the ground and unalives him turns out to be a good guy historically?
No, he'll reoffend, especially because he got off. He got off easy.
That's correct. And the reason people reoffend is because the system is not set up to rehabilitate.
Right.
It is to reoffend so that they continue to make money off of those people, and they continue to use those people to cause chaos in society so that they can then run for office and say, I'm going to stop crime. We've been hearing that since the day we were born, whether we heard it or not. That's when we started hearing it. And it's been that way ever since. And as long as you can remember, it's always been about crime, inflation, money, the cost of living, blah, 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 blah. It's the same bullshit every 2 and 4 years since you can remember. And somehow we think that the person we are able to select, vote, pick, however you want to look at it, is going to be the one that comes in and saves the day. But yet, not one of them has fixed the problems that our society faces every single time. Not one of them has fixed it. Have some made it better and some made it worse? Yes. But that is the illusion of choice. We're going to give you somebody that tells you they're going to fix it, and you can decide which one you think will. And one of them occasionally might be good enough to curve it just a little bit. But, I mean, Bill Clinton made the national debt go down. The first president ever in history that made the national debt go down.
True. My dad used to talk about that.
Right? So, was he a good president? No. I could point out 100 things that makes him a bad president. But did he do one thing that was good that people hang their hat on as why they support him? Yes. Is that how society works? You fix one thing and forget the rest? No. Because all those other problems are going to continue to keep coming back year after year, decade after decade, century after century. And
The capabilities to fix veteran problems. They've had homelessness.
I mean, let me ask you a question. Let's go to
Everything
veterans,
they've
because
had.
veterans is the biggest hot topic every 2 and 4 years. Do you mean to tell me with the 160 billion we send over here, 400 billion we send over here, 10 billion we send over here, 600 million we send over here, that if we kept all that in our country that we couldn't fix the entire vet problem? The answer, if you need to hear it, is yes. We could fix every single problem. We could make sure they had the mental health treatment that they need. We could make sure that they had a home. We could make sure that they had guidance. We could make sure that they had a partner to help them through. We could solve this. Come on. As Joe Biden would say, come on, man. Are you serious? Like, do we really think this is a century-old problem that we can't help vets? Are you really? Like, are we that naive?
No.
I mean,
They've
we've
had
seen. So Trump came in and gave vets a lot of things, and it put it on a perpetual upswing. And then Biden came in and knocked it all out. So if we truly cared about the vets, would Biden come in and knock it all out? No, because we don't care about the vets. We use them as pawns to get the votes, to get the oorahs behind us. That's all it's used for. We veterans are pawns.
Yeah,
Low income,
no, you
low income people, you're pawns. Poverty people, you're pawns. Black people, you're pawns. People of color, you're pawns. Hell, now white people are pawns because it's now going the other way. It's just a big, whenever you cut people up into groups and give them a label,
yeah.
you're a pawn. Because the only thing that should say is, as the human race, we want to solve hunger. Could we solve hunger?
Absolutely.
Come on, are you serious? Like, I've had 700 cucumbers in the last 2 weeks. Are we really saying we can't solve hunger? Are you serious? When Saudi Arabia can buy up 40,000 acres in Arizona and suck everybody's well dry in the area to water their land, to produce alfalfa, to send it back home and feed their cows, Are you serious?
People
The
are
fact that
just
we have this discussion pisses me off because it's not truly a real discussion.
no, it's something
Because
that should
it's
have been automatic. It should be already taken care of.
it's been solvable. Hunger is only used to manipulate world population. End of sentence. End of freaking sentence. It's only used to manipulate people. I mean, what happened to the commercials that I used to see when I was 20 years old of the Ethiopian kids with the pot bellies that just donate 10 cents a month and you can save their world? That we don't even see those anymore.
No,
Why?
they used to
Because
put out
because
pictures.
that gauntlet ran its course and they had to find different. Now it's the Israel people that are, you know, stricken in poverty because they believe in Jesus. I mean, it's just the horse shit changes over and over, but it's the same crap. It's the same bull crap that we fall into. And we know that if everybody busted their butt and everybody could grow their own fruit, everybody could grow their own vegetables, everybody could have cows without being worried about them farting, then we wouldn't have a problem. And for good God's sake, are you serious? This country lived off of cows for 200 years, but all of a sudden now them farting and shitting is the demise of our existence? Are you serious?
It's
And
ridiculous.
you freaking people echo that shit? Like, are you
And they
kidding me?
do. And people believe it. That's the thing. They believe everything they're spoon fed. Everything they see.
I've been
Right here.
sniffing cow
These
shit. I've been
phones.
sniffing cow shit for 20 years. I'm still here. I don't understand how it's working.
I wish we could go back to where I never even knew what a phone was, lived my life without phone, social media. When we had to travel somewhere, we stopped and asked for directions. I don't care if I stopped 4 times to ask for freaking directions. I stopped and asked for freaking
Yeah.
directions.
Well, I never did because I'm a guy, so I just drove in the
You
wrong
had it.
direction for 50
You're
miles,
mad.
right? And I'm like, we just crossed the state line, wrong direction. Let's go back.
I did that not too long ago, even with a phone. I did it in Virginia when I was on my way to Florida.
I mean, the thing is that blows me away is that
I did.
somehow we've lost perception of common sense.
Absolutely.
We
How did we get
truly,
back? How did we get back there?
well, unfortunately, the answer is what nobody wants to hear is we have to have another reset. And the question is, after this reset, does humanity figure it out? And the answer, now I'm really going to rock some boats, is no. Why do they say history repeats itself? Because it does. Why does it repeat itself? Because I believe, I don't know that I'm right, it's just my perspective. I believe that if you believe in the perpetual bullshit and the hamster wheel and you jump on it and you spin it every time, when you die, you're going to come back. And you're going to jump on the hamster wheel times one, and your life's going to suck a little bit more. And then you're going to run that hamster wheel, and you're either going to figure out, is this it, or is there something else? And I
What
believe
made you come to that decision that that's what you believe?
because history repeats itself. And I cannot accept the fact that as a human being with the most complex body and mind known in the history of the world, that we cannot solve simplistic problems. I cannot accept that. But yet, here we go, after the Roman Empire, the Mayans, the Egyptians, blah, 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 blah. And here we are once again with the same fucking problems, the same issues, the same bullshit. And here we are repeating the same outcome. So I feel like you get stuck on that hamster wheel, you get to come back and you get to experience it. And it's going to be worse next time. And I think it is perpetually a character test to see if you can truly see through the bullshit and come down to a rational, common sense, simplistic understanding that complexity causes chaos. And when you understand it in a simplistic matter, you understand what's right, and you treat your neighbor right, and you love the people that you're supposed to, and that you don't take the bullshit that you're not supposed to take, then I think you get to move to the next level. I mean, if you go to the three-letter-agency.gov/library, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say it on here. But if you go to that, it literally talks to you about time travel. It literally talks to you about the fifth dimension, the seventh dimension, the ninth dimension, the 12th dimension. It literally talks about extraterrestrial. It literally talks about, and if you don't think that shit's real, you're on your hamster wheel and you're running your ass off and you just don't get it. And that's okay. I'm not going to try to get you to jump off your hamster wheel, because you're not going to, because you don't see it yet. You're going to have to go through this multiple times and get your ass whooped. And then maybe at some point you'll go, oh, I get it now. So do I think that this is horrible? No, I think this is a process, right? I think this place, Earth, was set up to be a character test and a mental test. And if you can pass those two things, then you can go to the next level. If you can't pass it, you're going to sit here on this perpetual wheel and you're going to live in hell. Because let me ask you this. When I say that, people get really pissed off, especially Christians. Oh my God, how can you say this is hell? How many people are living a life that your positives outnumber your negatives?
Not many.
How many people are living a life that they feel like their positives are way up here and their negatives are way down here? Or how many people are living life that feel like it is kicking them in the teeth every 2 to 5 years, no matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, no matter what goal they set, no matter how they set it, it just constantly kicks their ass every so often? It's because you don't understand how it works yet. Me, I'm totally okay with where we're at. I'm totally fine with what's coming next, because I'm out of here after this. Whatever happens, I'm gone. I'm not coming back to this place. I am done. I figured out what it is. I understand it for what it is, and I am fucking out. I'm gone.
Like, see ya, kiss my ass.
And I hope that I can convince enough people on my way out the door to see it the next time they get regurgitated back through to figure it out. That's what my hope is. So
You think
I'm
it's where
okay.
the deja vu feeling comes from? The deja vu.
I mean,
feeling comes
come on, man. Be real. Like, how many times have you been like, shit, I know.
It-
Yeah,
yeah.
this is about to happen, and boom, it happens. You're like, I'm a psychic. No, you're not. You've been through this shit. You just remembered a moment in time that you've already been through, and you saw it. And instead of you listening to your intuitive inner being that's telling you, hey, idiot, you were here before. I'm trying to tell you this. I'm giving you a sign. Here it is. Instead of that, you go, oh, that was a weird thought, and it actually happened. I don't know how that happened. I mean, we're the most intuitive. Listen, the human body. I mean, how many times? Let me break it down the way that a lot of people understand. How many times have you ever gotten into a relationship with somebody that you were in one for 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 years, but the third day y'all were
Let's not
hanging
go
out
there.
and playing like, little lovey doveys, that you went, now this shit ain't gonna work, right? And then you went, oh, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, it's gonna work. And then you went on for 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 years, and then it's, I hate your guts, get out of my life, I want a divorce, right? Right? You knew on day 3, you knew On day three, you knew on day three that you were screwing up, and your intuition came out and was like, hello, you're screwing
Slap in
up.
your
And
ass.
you were like, no, I got this. I know what's right for me. Shut up. Shut up. You're just intuition. This is what I want.
Too many
Right?
times to keep.
I mean, I think everybody can relate to that one. Now it gets much more complex and it gets much more in depth than that, but I think people can relate to that. So, it's like,
Absolutely. I was
I'm
like,
just
let's
saying,
not
like,
go there. Let's not.
you know, I don't know, man. I mean, sometimes I think I just I really try to look at things in the most simplistic value available, because I feel like when you let this override this, and I'm not pointing at my heart, I'm pointing at my gut, because your heart overrides this. So you have your gut, then your brain, then your heart. Your heart and your brain override the most important thing in your life, which is your intuition, which tells you to don't step off of that curb when a car goes by at 60 miles an hour. Your intuition tells you don't get in that car with that person because you feel like something bad's about to happen. Then you find out they got in a car wreck and passed away on the way home. That is your intuition. And that is what we're supposed to be in touch with. And that is what they're attacking by putting so much shit into your brain that you can't connect with it.
Medications, they numb it out.
Medication, liquor, sodas, sugar, you name it. You name it. But they're putting all the TV, movies, radio, music, blah blah blah, all these things they put in your life to turn your intuition off and let them tell you what your intuition is.
I can't disagree with that.
So I don't know, man. Like I'm okay with where we're at. I'm okay with what's happening because I know I don't give a shit what happens tomorrow or Thursday or next week or next month or November 5th or January 20th. I'm out of this motherfucker. I'm out. I'm going. I'm going. I don't care how. I don't care what the cause is. I don't care if Russia drops a napalm bomb on us. I don't care if I go out tomorrow and have a heat stroke because it's 114 with 77% humidity. It doesn't matter to me because I'm out this time. This is it. And I'm totally okay with however that works out. And I think that if more people felt that way, then they would be able to live their life more robust and more influential on other people to rattle their cages and be like, hey, man, we're going out. You want to go out? You want to be a sucker or you want to be a leader? And right now, too many people want to be a sucker. They want to be a sucker on the teat of a celebrity, a government, a football team. Or what? It doesn't matter. Look at how some of these people are so. Oh my gosh, man! I've never seen like my. I'm not going to point somebody out, but somebody I know that's has my blood. This dude can spit every football stat to you like it's his, like he's a fucking football encyclopedia. And you know what I asked him? I said, let me ask you a question. Do any of them know that you exist on the face of this earth? What do you mean? Well, what do you mean? What do I mean? I just asked you a real simple question. Does any football player in the world know that you exist on the face of the earth? Well, no, but yet you know everything about them. Think if you spent that much time getting to know yourself, getting to know who you are, getting to know what your values are, getting to know what you stood for. You don't know what you stand for. You don't know what your values are. You don't know who you are. But good God, you know who got drafted in the 9th round in Kansas City last week? Like, are you serious? Our perception and our perspective and our rank of what's important is so off cue. It is pathetic. And how do you come back from that? You move on to the next dimension. That's it. That's all. That's all I know.
Harley, I appreciate you coming on. It's almost 11. A great conversation. You always bring to the table a different way of thinking, for sure. Smarter ways of thinking. Some things I agree with, some things I don't, but that's okay. But I do see things differently when I do speak with you in a lot of ways that are smarter, easier, in the way we should be doing things.
And the thing is, I don't think I'm smarter. I think I'm more simplistic. I think I try to look at things for exactly what they are. And if somebody says they want to take away your 2A and take you to court first and then decide, that's not right. Because if you live in the country and somebody makes a false accusation and they come take away your 2A to decide later in court whether you deserve to have your 2A back or not, and you go out back the next day to check on your cattle, and a mountain lion sees you and decides that you're lunch that day, and there's nothing you can do about it, is that the right thing? I mean, I live in a place where we have mountain lions, panthers, bears, rattlesnakes. We got all of it. If you if you if you don't watch your back around here, you could be in big trouble in a split second. And then if you're in trouble in a split second, you have a split second to respond. What are you going to do? Pull out your buck knife and fight off a bear? I mean, maybe if you're Billy Badass, and a lot of people think they are on these apps, but you're not, and you won't last 2 seconds. But I guess one guy did it one time in 1996, so you could do it too. But simplistically and reality wise, that's not going to happen, right? So my point being is that we have to look at things for face value. And I would love nothing more than to say that some person could get elected and come in and save the day. But the reality behind that is simply not.
It's not going to happen. No.
It's not a factor. It's not a factor. The only person that can save you is you. That's it. That's it. The only person that can help you is you. Because let me ask everybody watching, or that will watch, or that has watched it, who is the only person that you have ever been able to count on in your entire life? It's you. And how many times have you failed yourself?
Many.
So you think that your entire existence depends on one man coming into office and he's going to fix everything and save you, when you can't even save yourself sometimes? Think about that statement. You can't even save yourself sometimes. You screw up on yourself sometimes. You don't come to bat for yourself sometimes. You don't cross the home plate sometimes for yourself. Why? Because we're human. But yet you're putting your whole existence, your family's existence, your protection, your livelihood, your future on one person. Does that seem really smart, or does that seem maybe a little bit foolish in hindsight?
Foolish.
So, all right. So we'll end on that, because I know you got to go, and I'm going to cover. A lot of people are asking about JD Vance, so I'm going to cover that on my podcast on Tuesday. I'm going to dive in pretty deep on him.
What time on Tuesday? That way other people know.
It's going to be Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's Harley Jackson 50, one word, on Rumble and YouTube. Again, I probably won't be on YouTube long because I don't know how to control my mouse, so it'll probably just be Rumble. But it's Harley Jackson 50, all one word, and it's the number 50. Because again, I watched his movie on Netflix. Good story, made you feel good, but I know who he is. I've researched who he is. I've researched who his ties are with. I've researched what college he went to. What college did he go to? The same one that who went to? Bush Jr., which was what? Skull and Bones. Did he go there? I don't know. Did he have an opportunity to? He did.
I'm sure he did.
So and it progresses because the whole deal with it, well, I'll just say it progresses. I'll leave it at that. So
Well, that's the thing.
um,
Nobody heard anything about Mike Johnson, and look where he's at. And nobody's heard any. I really didn't even know who JD Vance was either. I mean, says he says these things here. And there.
isn't it funny how these guys just come out of nowhere and
Amazing.
everybody's riding their coattail and they're like, "Yay, Mike Johnson! He's preaching about the Bible. He's a Christian and blah blah." And then look what he's done. Okay,
Everything
so
opposite. Everything opposite.
and then I guess the other thing that really gets me, and I'll end it on this note, is after I pointed out what Mike Johnson was, JD Vance is, yada yada yada. Vivek Ramaswamy. Then this is my favorite
was
line
weird.
that comes. This is my favorite line that comes back to me. Well, Trump is exposing them.
I know,
And then
and
my-
I sit
then-
back and I'm like, Trump is not doing shit with them.
Here's my next question. What did Trump do to all of the people he exposed in his last presidency? Because Comey's in jail, right? Nope. Fauci's in jail, right? Nope. Bricks is in jail, right? Nope.
Nobody is.
Who's in jail from the last Drain the Swamp?
Nobody. But this is what I love hearing.
Hmm.
Everybody tells me, well, they've all been taken to Gitmo already. Do
Yeah.
you hear that too?
Yeah.
Do you hear that too?
Yeah. These are all doubles, and I will say this: there are times like I will say this.
Sometimes
I
you
was
do
looking
think
at-
you're like,
Yes, because I was looking at Joe Biden the other day when he came out at the White House with Jill. This dude was like 6'4",
what
and
did they
Jill
have?
was
She was
like right here. And then I looked at like 10 other pictures, and Jill's right here, and I'm like, whoa. So did he get him some fancy new walking shoes because he falls over all the time? Or now, do I believe that there are doubles being played?
Yeah.
Yes. Let me clarify that. Do I believe that masks are put on and doubles are played? Yes. Do I think it's all for good?
No.
No, I don't. Because
No.
good and evil exist, yin and yang exist, black and white exist. There has to be negative and positive for humanity to exist because we broke that covenant, and Adam and Eve broke that covenant. So it will always exist. The question is, does humanity come to their freaking senses and understand what bad and negative is and doesn't call evil good and calls evil evil and understands how to put it in a corner and box it in and keep it there? Or do they let it run amok society and not understand what it means?
What's that?
So-
What a good point. Well said.
So that's how I look at
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Harley. I appreciate you coming on. Very great insight. Everyone, thank you guys for coming on here. And please tune in to Harley's podcast on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you guys have a great rest of the Saturday night, or is it Sunday? It's Sunday in about an hour from now. It's Saturday. It's Sunday already. It's 11 o'clock here, but it'll be, I'm sure, 12 in other places. But great conversation. Good way of looking at things. Now you got me thinking a certain way, and now I'm going to start deep diving in a different way. And
Well,
find out
most
some more information.
importantly, though, think for yourself. Don't listen to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Don't listen to country. Don't listen to Joe Rogan. Don't listen to Trump. Don't listen to Biden. Don't listen to Harris. Don't listen. Think for yourself. Think about what is best for you, what is best for your family, what is best for your outcome, and base your decisions on that. You don't need me. You don't need country. You don't need Biden or Shapiro or anybody. You don't need us to tell you. What you're doing is you're banking on for us to tell you. What you need to do is take a step back push all the noise away and start figuring out what's best for you. That's what you need to do, because I'm not going to come help you. Country's not going to come help you. Joe Rogan's not going to come help you. Trump's not going to come help you. Biden's not going to come. Nobody's coming to help you. You're going to help yourself. So figure out what's best for you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's that simple.
that's simple. All right, country. Thanks for having me on. I had a blast. Great as
Me
usual.
too, Harley. Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll probably be
Y'all have
live
a good
here in
night.
a little bit and deal with the other crazies.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
All
Everyone,
right. Bye
thank you
bye.
guys for showing up. I appreciate you. It's been a great night. Been a great night. A lot of different ways of thinking of things. Some things agree, some things I don't agree with. But hey, I guess time will tell. Time will tell with things. I do want to go out with playing this Trump video. I believe it's the right one.
Say what you want. Those people were brave. They were running to me, and the bullets were flying. The Secret Service, they were very brave. They were very brave, I can say. They were very brave. They were running at me, and they knew the bullets were going right over my head. At that point, the first one was not a good situation. Not a good situation. That was really something incredible. That was from God. That was from God. Because the chances, that was from God. For all of you non-believers, that one was for God, right? Boom.
Amen. Amen. It is armor God, and God was protecting with hedge of protection. Everyone, we'll see you back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Sorry. I'm tired. Good to see you guys. And with that, guys, have a great Sunday. Have a wonderful Sunday. Oh, and go get your Trump hat. I'm voting Felon 2020.
I think it's time to fight back. No, they won't like that. Everywhere is somewhere, and that's where the fight's at. I think it's time to fight back. No, they won't like.
Go to www.dacustoms.com and call 781-389-8179, and many different things, t-shirts, so many like leather wallets, men and women's belts, anything you want done leather-wise, wonderful. And also if you order right now, it's free shipping 40. Put that code in and everything will be free shipping. Absolutely. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night. So with that, Country Crazy out.